How's it going, heroes? For here with a bit of a different type of video than my usual uploads. As you would know if you followed my channel at all, I started off this season with a very low gold rank, with this being my first season I've ever tried to climb in Overwatch. Nonetheless, it's been about a month now since I've started, and I've just found myself finally reaching Diamond. And with my sights set much higher for the rest of the season, of course, I wanted to share what I've learned from the past month to hopefully help any of you guys out that may be struggling in the competitive scene, and maybe give you guys some tips you may have overlooked so far or you just can't figure out, and hopefully after this you can get that few points or those few shots off and climb to the next rank. So enough talking, let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so my first tip is going to be to find 2 or 3 heroes to main and master. Now, everyone can play one-trick ponies, which is just going to be playing one character and only one character. Everyone knows their Hanzo mains out there. But what you want to be looking to do is to find a few characters, maybe in different roles, so you can be flexible with your team when need be to fill out the roster in the best way to give yourself the best win percentage. If your team has 2 DPS, 3 DPS already, and your soldier main, you're going to be kind of out of luck when you have to fill out a healer role or a tank role, or even worse if you decide to just roll the soldier and give your team an even worse comp. So having that flexibility of maining many heroes will give you a much better success rate in that chance. So far through the season, one of the biggest tips I can give is to just don't be toxic in your competitive games. Being toxic can lose you the game before the game even begins, and when you're trying to rank up, that's the last thing that you want to go on. I understand that there's people that pick heroes that you don't want, or you've lost some games before and you really don't want this to be a loss, so you're already aggravated. In my experience, just take a break, wait a little bit, come back, but no matter what, just don't be toxic. It's not good for you, it's not good for your teammates, and in general, it's just not going to do anything positive for you at all, including for your SR, which is the entire point of this. One of the biggest things I hear from other players is that it's not me, it's my team's fault I can't rank up. It's never my fault I lost, it's always my team's fault. But having this mentality is completely and totally bad for your play. Thinking that it's always your team's fault and it's never your fault means you're never looking to improve. You need to always be looking at yourself in the mirror saying, what did I do wrong? What could I improve on? Because improving on yourself, no matter what kind of category you're looking to improve on, it could be communication, it could be accuracy, whatever it is, will help you in your next game. And it could be the game that you win. It could be the game that gets you into your next rank, and it's incredibly helpful to avoid the it's my team's fault mentality. Always play for the objective in the map, never for your medals, and never use your medals as an excuse for your misplay. Medals can completely and totally dilute how good you are actually playing in the match you're in. By focusing on pure objective, you are working towards what the map is intended for you to do. And in turn, it will result in more wins by being where you should be on the map. And many times, by playing the objective, you will actually perform much better for you are supposed to be here, and it's what's going to give you the win in the end. Believe it or not, Overwatch is a team-based game, and you're supposed to play together to get the win. And playing together is going to help you much more than going solo like many people do at a low rank, I've noticed. And it's very simple to play as a team, and it's one of the simplest concepts that'll give you so many more wins. Just making sure that if your team is dying, you're backing out of the team fight, making sure you're always grouping up and going in as a team, combo ulting with other heroes for mass team kills such as Graviton Surge and Dragon Strike from a Hanzo, etc. Playing as a team in this game is how it's supposed to be played, and it's a thing that many people don't pay all that much mind to at a lower rank. And by changing your mentality to the team mentality and not playing for yourself will yield much better performance out of you and much better win percentage. Being a positive player may seem like a very simple and naive idea to implement into your gameplay on the surface, but in reality, being positive can do so much for your team that you don't even realize. Being positive can influence your teammates to play better. It can earn you a point that you never thought you were going to get when you had no hope of making that final push. It can even get someone on your team that may be negative from a game previously, or it could be playing a character you don't like to think about it that extra bit to make the change necessary for your win. Being positive is very simple, yet very effective, and it is something that everyone should implement into their gameplay.
Select your hero.
Now, this may be a very hard tip to take, but just not tilting at picks that you don't like can be very, very helpful. Such as, for an example, I'm going on offense on a map that's not very good for a sniper, but someone picks a Widowmaker on my team. By not getting angry at them and keeping positivity in the group, you can avoid tilting that player before the match, other players on your team before the game begins, and save yourself from a loss before the doors open. So by simply giving this person the reason of doubt and letting them play what they're confident in playing, it could yield much more than you think. And just by being positive, even if it doesn't yield what you do think could come out of it, if they're no Kefri, you could still get a player that swaps over to something that they're better at. And in the end, that's going to be way more helpful than getting angry at someone that hasn't even gotten the chance yet to show you what they can do. Knowing when to swap in a game can be one of the most helpful tips you can ever receive. If you're a God Genji, but the enemy team has a Winston, a Mei, and for instance a Symmetra, then you definitely don't want to be running Genji no matter how good you may be. They do have the counters necessary to deal with you properly. And in that case, they're just going to shut you down and you won't be able to do your job effectively. So it's time to swap to a hero that can deal with this situation and be of use to your team. Because you playing a hero like Genji against a comp like that completely and totally underutilizes his kit and results in a team that's playing a 5v6 because you just didn't know it's time to swap. So understanding when to swap from hero to hero can be a very useful tool in your kit when climbing, and can get much more use out of your spot on the team and can result in many more wins that you wouldn't have earned if you didn't know that it was time to swap for your team. Understanding character fundamentals can be an extremely useful addition to your knowledge when it comes to who you're going to pick and when to swap. Such as knowing, hey, there's a Winston on the enemy team and I'm playing a Widowmaker, it's time to swap off a Widowmaker. Or they don't have any counters for a Widowmaker, so I should play one and pick off the Zenyatta they have since I counter Zenyatta since she's so slow and I can land a headshot on them so easily. Also knowledge such as knowing that Hanzo can climb a wall and hold his charge and get a snipe off over a corner, or that Genji's blade dash will reset on a kill. It's the simple things that can make a big impact in the game, and knowing these things for all the heroes in the game, or at least just the heroes that you play, can change up things in a big way. Try your best to avoid getting tilted in your matches, and start seeing it when it starts coming. You can involve being tilted with being toxic, but I like to think of it as a separate category on its own, since being tilted can be a much more subtle kind of change to your gameplay style, and it doesn't involve the same aspects. Such if you're being toxic, you're probably going to be really irritated with your teammates. So knowing before you tilt that you're getting to that point and being able to avoid carrying that agitation into the next game can prevent yourself from that next loss streak that you really don't want out of your belt. Well, heroes, that's going to do it for me in this video. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, there is always more that you can add to the list. Always more tips you can take from your gameplay, or what you could add to your gameplay to improve yourself as a player. But for now, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more of this in the future again, and I'll see you guys next time.